quién más, no me acuerdo. Puse las preguntas en este chat, digo, en este Google Doc, perdón, entonces ahí están las preguntas que ustedes me mandaron, como ya integradas, ¿no? Están en español, entonces a Ruth hay que preguntárselas en inglés, pero es para que las tengamos integradas ahí, todas las preguntas que fueron desarrollando. Y les voy a decir normalmente cómo yo hago esto con los invitados. Eh, bueno, primero le pedí a Ruth que unos 15 minutitos, ahorita les platico un poco de quién es Ruth, lo que llega. Le pedí que unos 10, ¡ay, ya llegó Ruth! Hi, Ruth. Hi, Ruth, can you hear us?
Hi.
Hi, great.
Yes, I. You sent me an invitation that had a different Zoom room.
Oh, okay. So I'm glad that I sent you again
Yes, yes.
the right number. So thank you, Ruth, for being here with us.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can see these guys. Some of these guys are the students of the class for organizational models, the new organizational models.
Hello,
Um,
everyone.
and when I share with them your experience, they were very excited to listen about you and what are you doing, etc. So just for you to know, I sent them the case for the cancer-free economy and the link for the Garfield Foundation.
Oops, I lost you. Hello?
Yes, I think we lost her.
Oh,
We can hear.
I can hear you.
Hi,
Ludus? Ludus? How do you say?
Alexia. My name is
Alexia.
Alexia. Hi, Ruth.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you. Annabelle, can you hear us? She looks frozen. So, hello, David and Valerie. Yes. And Carlos.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. Nice to meet you all. Of course, I would love to just hear about you. So, I guess it looks like Annabelle is logged off and will come back on. And it looks like on the phone is Cecilia. Yeah? And she's muted, so if she's saying hello, I'm not hearing. But I guess I'll just jump in since we might not have Annabelle for a moment or two. So I understand that you're studying different ways of collaborating, sort of, or organizational models. And because I've had the opportunity to work with Annabelle, she and I have some really similar ideas about the work that we do, and we've really enjoyed comparing our experiences and seeing how much of our work has evolved to similar ideas. A little bit about me. I think you've heard some of it already, probably from Annabelle. I want to stop for a second. Are you all hearing me all right? Great. So I have a varied past professional and personal experience that has brought me to this place. A mix of being an organizer at the community level and helping people start cooperatives and collectives. In some of my early organizing years, was the combination of matching entrepreneurial ideas with collaborative social change ideas. And the collectives and co-ops at the time gave me a good platform for that, because it provided us with the people who were wanting to do community-based service work and actually work on some political issues in the US and internationally. It gave us some independence. We didn't have bosses who could tell us we can't, take the afternoon off for something. And it gave us a livelihood that had meaning. And so I did early work in that arena, and then I decided I needed more of a traditional occupation. And I went into educational publishing and technology, and there I became very interested in, and I published books, textbooks in management studies, so business and management, organizational design, and information technology, which that's what it was referred to in the time. I'm not going to age myself, but you can imagine that was the term then. I got a lot of great experience in managing in large corporate environment, and also dealing with the educational system. And I also was kind of eager to get back to more social benefit type of work. But it was very helpful to take all of that experience from actually managing a large organization. And I moved into the multimedia startup space. And I only give you those little pieces of my background in addition to the fact that I grew up on a family farm that was very interested in more sustainable agriculture. I've weaved those different mindsets together in the work that we do now. And Annabel, you were off, but I said that as we've worked together, we've discovered so many parallels from our different experience coming to this work. So that's all to say that I feel like a lot of what I'm doing now is a combination of those experiences. And one of the things that to me is inspiring about creating these collaborative networks is that it is a new organizational form. Hi, Sophia. That allows people to be entrepreneurial, to be working on a collective goal, but have the flexibility where people really find what their skill set is, and whether it's their organizational role or their personal role. It allows for a structure where you join with other people in appreciation of the fact that it takes a whole system to make the kind of change that most of us are trying to make, whether it's in a large organization, a government agency, a nation, or a community. You need to really understand that our problems today are complex, and you have, in order to hold that complex set of dynamics that are causing the current state, you need to be able to work with people who are in different parts of the system in order to have alignment, to appreciate their role and see how your roles reinforce each other. And so the collective, collaborative network model to me is a perfect flexible, adaptable organizational model that fits making change in complex systems. So I've spent the last 15 years or so, maybe longer, 20, experimenting with different ways of bringing people together to structure collaboration and to experiment with how you build the collective relationship, the shared goal, an understanding of the complexity of the problem, and then really an aspirational and partnership approach to solving the problem, to truly solving the problem, not just putting Band-Aids on the problem, but really getting at deep root causes of some of our social and environmental problems. I want to stop there and see if, Annabel, if you have anything in particular that you'd like me to zero in on, or if we want to just have a discussion.
Yeah, thank you. I had some technical problems, but I'm back. Thank you, Ruth. Actually, some of them create some questions for you, so I would like them to be asking you some questions, because one of the purposes here is that they could like be developing this way of asking people questions, so they can see what kind of structure of proposal for a specific structure is the people like giving them, and in the experience they have. So who wants to ask the first question? The first question for Ruth. And if someone needs support with the translation, that's okay too.
Anabel, yo tengo una pregunta, pero ya no la puse en la tabla. Y si me ayudas para traducirla, sí me interesa también. Es sobre de lo que he visto en el texto, que al final se juntan con personas que tienen un poco la misma visión, y creo que ahí está como el reto para partir de este nuevo modelo de organización, ¿no? Entonces,
let me okay, the question, sorry.
Sí, o sea, es justamente esa.
¿Cuál es tu pregunta, Alexi?
Es sobre esa parte, sobre como para empezar ese nuevo modelo, tienen que partir de gente que comparten esta visión, y luego cómo se van integrando personas que a lo mejor no estaban tan sensibilizadas a esa visión sistémica. No sé si entiendas.
Sí. A ver, voy a intentar traducirla y ustedes me dicen si tiene sentido. So Ruth, Alexia is asking that when she was reading the case, the cancer-free economy case, one of the points is that that you invite people that share a common vision of something that you wanted to build on. And the question is that how, well, it's like two parts of the question. Is at the beginning, how do you find these persons that have like a similar vision of what you want to build? And the second is, when that network starts to expand, how do you include people that have different perspectives and different visions and different ways of looking at the same situation, especially including the way of working with the systemic perspective, that not everybody works with that kind of perspective?
That's a very good questions. Well, I have to say that to start, gathering people together that have a shared vision or a shared goal is messy, in that people aren't necessarily saying the same thing, because they all work in these fragmented positions or organizations, and they may see the problem from different perspectives. So part of bringing people together is a conversation. It's talking to people who you think are in some way involved in trying to solve the problem. So, for example, in the Cancer-Free Economy project, we started with people who already were working as advocates against toxic chemicals, and they all worked for nonprofit organizations, but some were nurses, some were professors of epidemiology, some worked with, consulted with businesses to try and get businesses to remove toxics, and they were actually advising businesses and developing tools for them. So they were people working in different areas of the issue of toxic chemicals, and we invited them together with this idea that maybe if we work together instead of fragmented and disconnected, and could develop in conversation a shared goal. So they don't necessarily have a specific shared goal in the beginning, but they're trying to really work on the same problem. And that is sort of the early stages of building the relationships, and a shared purpose is to develop that shared goal together and weave something that speaks to all of those different parts of the system. And then when you're inviting in new people, you are inviting them in to share that purpose. And it's important to have some type of orientation or invitation, an onboarding experience, some people may call it, where before somebody is in the network officially and a member and taking on the shared responsibility and benefits of being in the network, you want to orient them to the approach that this is a collaboration, and we're working together because we really believe that by understanding each other's roles and aligning them to reinforce each other and to build everybody's work up together, we will have more impact. We will actually be able to build enough power in the system and interventions together that we can really change it, instead of all being fragmented and arguing about whose strategy is the best and, whose leader is the smartest or whatever. And so that's sort of the process it's an ongoing dialogue of building the relationships, the appreciation, and the clarity on what the problem is, and some a small set of pathways or interventions to agree on. One of the things that people misunderstand is that by being part of a network, everybody's agreed to work on all of the same things, and that there is a sort of a all for one, that everything has to be by consensus. And then that's more of a campaign or an alliance, an association might form that way. And a lot of the ideas are the same about collaborating. But in a network, it's very specifically acknowledging that people play different roles, and they need to experiment with different strategies, but they know that they have a common set of agreements about what they're trying to change at a kind of a high level and a long-term goal. And that allows them, all different types of people with different perspectives, but just a long-term shared goal, to work together and to find the common threads that weave them together. They don't have to agree on everything.
Thank you, Ruth. And Cecilia is asking a question that I think you might answer already. But how do we involve people who don't share that vision at all? And the way I see that is, for example, people that have a completely different perspective on the objective or the purpose, and people that you need to be on board for really achieving the purpose, but that they have like a, I mean, they are completely disconnected from the purpose. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you know, there's different approaches to that depending on who's already at the table. And some people in these networks will say, you know, there's a limit. If somebody from a big chemical company that is trying to undermine our work to get rid of toxic chemicals, then they can't be at the table. They, you know, they just will not change, and they will undermine our goal. Other people would say we need to ultimately change chemical companies and what they see their goal is. And so maybe we can't work with them right now, but let's start developing a dialogue where we can find things that will are common ground. And we ask sort of what is their true goal? Their true goal of whatever, using the chemical company, is to provide you know, solutions to the, most people working in chemical companies aren't going to say, I'm all about, you know, poisoning people and making profit from it. They don't see themselves that way. That's the way we see them, so to speak. And so it's really about finding those pathways. And sometimes it doesn't mean that those people will become part of your network, but you would have people in your network who are trying to work with chemical companies. There are companies, for example, using my this model, there are companies who are trying to do research on alternative, less toxic chemicals. They don't advertise that because they don't want to advertise that their other chemicals are toxic and creating cancer. But you find the right people to start working with, some researchers, or if it's a government agency, there's usually someone who's got interest in what you're doing, and you develop that, and it's a process. You decide how close you want those folks to be at different stages of your work, because it's evolving. So it's part of the ongoing discussion, but an important part is trying to understand, have empathy for what these people as individuals are trying to do. Most of them want to be contributing to something bigger if they're given the chance. And so staying open to the possibility, no matter what their job title is, or what they say that they really believe in, giving them space to be in the discussion is really important. And, you know, realistically, depending on what your network is doing, you need to be reasonable about protecting the network from people who might want to disrupt it because they believe that you're doing something that's against their interest. I'm think that usually you have when you build a first, you know, community of people, and they agree on who else they know that might be good to bring in. If you work it that way, where it's sort of people you know, and even if you don't know them, somebody you know knows them, and they are in the sector that you're trying to recruit. So you're sort of looking for those bridges. So
Thank you, Ruth. Well, I have the list of the questions here, and there is two that I want you to answer during this time that we have with you. One is the question about the evolution of the network, the growth of the network. So, for example, in the cancer-free economy, that is the case that they read, is that you began with 6, 8 organizations, and then you have, I'm sure that for by now you have more than 80. But then the question is how much that, I mean, the growing of that number influence in how you can work with collaborative networks, and if there is a way that you have been like learning, if it's more complicated, if it's easier, I mean, and things like that. And if I think this question is kind of interesting, because it's, if you have find out that there is like an optimal number for these kind of networks.
I don't have an optimal number, but I think that there is something to the idea that it has to be more than, a dozen or 20 people. Unless those people are in this network representing whole constituencies. And so they are just, nodes to bigger sectors or organizations. And a network that is made up of hundreds of organizations is very difficult to stay cohesive. So, I think it's very much dependent on what the group is doing, the scale of work that you're trying to do. I would say you want to bring enough different people together representing different functions or sectors in whatever the issue is that you're working on, or your purpose. You don't want it to be all people of the same, that are thinking the same and doing the same things. You want that diversity. And so that's one factor. The more complicated it is, the more you tend to want to have a larger variety of people. And then the important thing is, I do think you need to grow it, because I think it's really hard to start with a huge network, because it's very much needs to start as a discussion where people feel like they're learning from each other, and they are learning to trust each other, learning to respect each other's roles. And when you're adding people, it's the people that have decided that they share the purpose, they agree on this approach, that there's something to it, and they invite in the next group of people, so that it's growing organically through their understanding of the problem and their understanding that it needs to be a collaboration broader than just the people at the table. And so we actually have gone through a process where we'll make a list of the kinds of people we need. In the Cancer-Free Economy Project, all the people that were originally in the group said, well, we need to have people who know business and work with business, and we need some youth. We need the next generation of leaders. And so those were the first people that we reached out to. People said, oh, I think this person would be great to invite. I think this person. And then we would talk about what do they bring to the table? What do we have to offer? Are they collaborative people? And so the growth is that way. When you get to a certain size, you're relying on the nodes, so the smaller groups, to really develop that trust and those relationships, so that you're always part of a community that's not bigger than like 20 people. You're part of a working group or node in the network that you really have affinity to. But you can also volunteer or be elected or hired, depending on the network, to also serve a network role. Say you're in a node, you're in one part of it, and you want to collaborate on the communications effort across the whole network. You'll have a role in your group and maybe this network-wide, what we call network infrastructure. And so because you have nodes that are developed on trust and relationship, you can grow the network larger. And then, of course, there's what we call a governance structure where each node participates in a council or a steering committee. They elect someone or someone volunteers to be part of a network-wide governance where each of the nodes is represented, and they ensure that information flows through all of the nodes. Because the other great thing about a network structure and taking from network theory and what makes a network is the connections and the flow of information. And so everything that you do to grow this type of structure needs to have at its core are people learning from each other, and is information flowing? Am I sharing information? Am I receiving information that makes my work more effective? And it helps you adapt your work so that you become more effective, because more people, you're more aware of the whole, everything that's going on with your project.
Thank you, Ruth. And I have a question that I really want you to answer to them, because that question is, what would be the best advice that you can give to these guys to practice a collaborative attitude as a person in their daily life?
Well, the word that first comes to mind is, for me, is empathy. And not in just a sort of a big-hearted, oh, I appreciate this other person, but truly, a gentleman just used this term with me yesterday that I really liked. Tactical empathy. And what he meant is I think a very pragmatic empathy. In order to collaborate, you have to understand the people that you're collaborating with. It's not a competition of ideas. You're trying to find common ground. You're trying to appreciate and give that person the space to meet you in collaboration. And so you have to practice and assume, which you could say you create a space for other people to enter into collaboration with you. It's not something you push on people. It's not something you pull. You have to And to me, the concept of empathy and being very practical about what that does in a relationship and in a discussion is really important. And I think the other thing is look for common goals, look for common objectives. A lot of times we don't even realize, we're so busy assuming that we know what other people think because of the job they have or because of where they come from, their political persuasion, their education, whatever it is. We make assumptions, and practicing sort of inviting people to agree with you, to find areas of agreement. And so a lot of it is about inquiry. It's not about telling people first, this is what I think and this is what I believe we should be doing, and I know we can collaborate together because I'm sure of it. It's more of, this is what I'm doing. What about what I'm doing seems interesting to you or bothers you or you agree with? But it is that inquiry that is something to practice.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Does anyone, I didn't translate each one of the answers of the questions, but if someone else wants to ask another thing to Ruth? Valeria?
Okay. Hold on. Okay.
You turned off.
Yeah.
Yeah, ready. Thank you. Regarding of the last thing you said, I've tried to do the exercise with other organizations who are working in projects similar to mine. And we have sat on a table and talked this idea of, well, I always try to sell this idea of working together or, summing forces in order to have more impact and share resources and share knowledge and experience. And I have encountered two things, and I want to ask if it's something like cultural in Mexico, or have you had that same experience, and how did you turn around that situation? But one of the things is that many people, when I have talked about it, they will tell me, oh, like wishful thinking, like it would be great if we could do this and this and this together and la 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 blah blah blah. But when you start putting things down and saying like, okay, what are we going to do? Who's gonna do what? People start like saying, okay, but well, I'm too busy right now with what I'm doing, no? So I cannot take more work on, and let's see. And then people start like looking all the way around, and no, we'll talk about it, and we'll talk next week, and we'll keep in touch, and nothing happens. That's one thing. And the second thing is that in Mexico, at least in the field that I'm trying to work in, people, and they have told me this, it's like, okay, people are reluctant to share knowledge and experience more when they have been successful, because they want the medal, because this whole complex social thing is, well, social and environmental thing is kind of new in this country, and we are looking for new solutions to solve many complex things. They don't want to share what is working, because they say, okay, somebody else is going to get the credit for it. So I had these two things that I had been stopping me from doing the exercise more seriously or to get any advance on it.
That sounds very familiar. I don't think it's just in Mexico. Unfortunately, I think all of that happens. And a lot of times it's, I think it's the environment that we all pretty much have to work in most of the time. It's competitive. It's the scarcity, like I don't have enough time. I don't want to share what I know because maybe you'll take advantage of that and then I won't be the hero. And the wishful thinking is very common. It's a lot of people believe that the world works through competition and through, because that's sort of a lot of what all of our systems are built on. So, it's definitely a different way to operate, and people are rather jaded. But don't give up. I think that one of the best ways to maybe open people's ideas is to ask, have a discussion about what the current situation is creating. As Annabel and I don't know if you've talked about this, but what is the cost of not collaborating? What is the cost of thinking about everything being scarce? It closes off all of the possibilities. And so asking people, is the way that things operate now working for everybody? And, if people can agree, no, it's not, it would be great if, and because, probably the people that you're gathering know that there's a problem. They just don't believe that there's really a solution. And to talk about what do we have to lose by experimenting with actually combining our efforts. And everybody is too busy. I mean, gosh, here it's the same. Everyone's so busy. And if people have a job that they aren't, that exhausts them and drains them, which the majority of people do nowadays, tapping into this, that part of everyone who would like to be doing something more satisfying and meaningful, and making it something small that they can bite off. And one of the things that is so true, and I love this quote that Maya Angelou said about what people remember, that inspires me about this work. And she said, people don't remember what you say. They don't remember what you do. They remember how you make them feel. And it just reminds me that we have to make people feel welcome and just enjoy doing work together that's a collaboration. People are all looking for that kind of, a friendship, a relationship, a common purpose, even when they don't know it. We're all humans, and we want that, something that makes us feel alive. And if you can find any thread in the work to just start people on that makes them feel like they're actually appreciated, the work they do. So it's important to not frame things of their work isn't any, isn't of any use. It's more the combination of everybody doing things their own way is the problem, but they can contribute something to the whole that could really be more satisfying and more so it's difficult when that's the energy that you have in the room. You just have to find those little sparks of joy and of energy and work with that, whatever you have, because that itself will attract other people to being part of it. Continuing to be welcoming, even for the people who are like, I don't want to do this. Because my experience is that those people sometimes become huge fans and very involved when something clicks for them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you have time for one more question. Who wants to ask one more question? Or?
What's this about the PowerPoint pitch and storytelling?
The phrase that you just shared is one that I suppose that is a class, right? It's a class for how you build up your pitch for presenting the project. So the phrase that you just shared is part of a document for that class.
Yeah,
so that's, yeah.
Uh-huh. My Spanish is high school.
But, well, Ruth, thank you very much for being part of this dialogue with these guys. I know that some of them doesn't feel like as comfortable to be asking you the questions in English, but that's fine because they can understand what you're saying. And I just want to say that I have been very honored to be in conversation and working with Ruth and learning a lot from her. So thank you, and I know that we will be together.
It's mutual. Yes. Well, thank you all for inviting me, and good luck with your work. And thank you, Annabel. Talk to you.
Thank you, Ruth.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna. No se vayan. Vamos a. They are writing that thank you very much. That you were very interesting and very inspiring for them. So
good. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Entonces, pues tenemos como 10 minutos para cerrar y bueno, ya tienen como las preguntas que les había puesto. Entonces, lo que les pediría, vi que varios estuvieron escribiendo. Lo que no alcancé a decirles, porque entre que me botó y ya estaba Ruth y todo, es que tenía una hoja en el Google Doc donde iban a ir poniendo como sus principales reflexiones para que todos pudiéramos ver como que se estaban llevando, ¿no? de la conversación. Entonces ya nada más lo que les pediría es voy a abrir en el foro como voy a abrir un foro que diga como principales, uno o dos principales reflexiones de esta conversación que se llevaron de aprendizajes y que los compartan ahí, ¿no? De sus notas, que digan esto estuvo buenísimo y esto me va a servir a mí para poder entender cómo diseñar como mi propia organización, ¿no? Y cómo quererla diseñar. Entonces eso les voy a pedir que lo hagan para que todos puedan como ver sus diferentes aprendizajes, ¿no? Y hacer una polinización chiquita, aunque sea. Entonces, pues bueno, ahí nada más quisiera ver que si pueden como platicarme un poquito, digo, ya algo, Ceci dijo que se iba a desconectar, y Sofía estaba teniendo como cuestiones porque se congelaba mucho. Entonces nada más es si quisieran compartir los que nos quedan por aquí, esto que van a escribir en el foro, o sea, cuál fue así como una idea que se están llevando, que dicen, esto fue una idea buenísima que me voy a llevar a mi vida y a mi proyecto y a todo lo que vaya construyendo.
Pues yo me llevo esa idea de cómo invitar a la gente a colaborar. Además es como un tema que platicamos con Marilu justo ayer y pues ya como que tiene todavía más resonancia. Creo que esto es como el reto, ¿no? En la comunicación y eso, cómo logramos eh, un movimiento voluntario por parte de la gente. Cómo comunicamos eso del interés común, ¿no?
Gracias, Alexia. Sí, ese es un aprendizaje bien bonito, o sea, cómo invitar y desde dónde invitar, ¿no? Es muy lindo. Marilu, David, Carlos.
La verdad, yo estaba como un poco out. Me dolió horrible la cabeza. Estoy de regresar a una vida godín. No, girar demasiado la ardilla. Pero, bueno, o sea, no estuve como al 100 en todo, pero se me quedó mucho lo de la empatía, ¿no? Que tú preguntabas sobre todo esto de cómo llevarlo a la vida diaria. Y sí, también nos hace venir a la mente como varios ejemplos y creo que pues aplica para todo, ¿no? En el proyecto, en la vida personal, o sea, como esta visión de ser empáticos.
Gracias, Marilu. David, ¿quieres compartir algo? A Valeria,
A
nada
mí
más le
algo que
explico a Valeria. Ajá. Allá.
A
Sí,
mí
David.
algo que sí me quedó muy, muy grabado ahorita que lo dijo, es de que para la colaboración no es necesario que las personas piensen igual o tengan pensamientos cercanos a, ¿no? Sino que parte de la misma intención de querer resolver el mismo problema. Y a partir de ahí ya poder empezar a hacer esas conexiones, identificar qué es lo que está motivando a cada uno de ellos para poderlo resolver. Y, por ejemplo, para mi caso, pues es muy, muy complicado esa parte, ¿no? Porque están muy sesgados en esa parte y no, yo pienso de esta manera y este es mi pensamiento y de aquí nadie me saca. Entonces es un tanto complicado precisamente poder encontrar esa participación o esa colaboración con los proyectos que se puedan desarrollar, ¿no? Entonces sí, esta parte pues, sí me quedó así como que muy, muy, muy grabada de que me puede ser muy útil, ¿no? Atender las cosas desde ahí, desde, ¿sabes qué? Pues aquí venimos a resolver un problema, sin importar títulos ni nada. O sea, eso fue lo que más me quedó.
Okay. Gracias, David. Valeria, estamos como están compartiendo como cuál fue como así un aprendizaje que se les quedó bien grabado y que va a ser algo que se van a llevar como a su vida y a sus proyectos.
Bueno, pues la verdad es que me encantó cómo respondió la pregunta, o sea, fue como muy honesta a decir, no, sí está cañón, ¿no? Sí pasa, pero intenta siempre tú ser como, bueno, o sea, los consejos que dio sobre el diálogo, decir, bueno, a ver, ¿qué tenemos que perder por un lado? Y cuál sería el costo o el resultado esperable si seguimos como estamos? Y al final, pues como al final, este tema de ser welcoming, de ser empática y tratar a la gente como siempre, como alguien valioso que siempre tiene algo bueno para aportar, es como, pues es una postura como hasta muy, lo puedes llevar a cualquier plano, ¿no? O sea, hasta el plano de metafísico, en el sentido de decir, bueno, pues uno qué recursos tiene más que intentar ser como el ejemplo de lo que quiere ver en el mundo, ¿no? Entonces, y ahí está, mantenerse ahí, que es complicado, y entonces las fuerzas o las energías alrededor empiezan a cambiar, ¿no? O sea, como que hasta me hizo clic a ese nivel de decir, pues sí, pues claro, ¿no? O sea, si tienes que poner el ejemplo, tienes que, ¿no? Invitar y pues mantenerte y pues ver qué pasa, pero también como hacer el ejercicio de qué tenemos que perder. Pues por ahí. Gracias.
Gracias, Valeria. Ahí cuando tengamos la presencial les puedo compartir un poquito de a qué se refería Ruth con el costo de escasez, y qué significa, ¿no? Para verlo desde este punto de la colaboración. Entonces, sí, en la
Bueno, que
siguiente
tiene que ver
presencial.
con las lecturas, ¿no? Que nos mandaste, este tema de pensar desde la competencia, la escasez.
Está
Sí,
buenísimo.
me hizo mucho clic porque, claro, y en realidad es que así funcionamos, ¿no? Y así nos formaron para competir unos contra otros y por el mejor puesto y por el proyecto y no sé qué, pero porque hay como reconocimiento para pocos, pero si empiezas a poner estos conceptos nuevos sobre la mesa, es decir, oye, todos ponemos, podemos, ¿no? Crear algo mucho más abundante, entonces a lo mejor pues empiezan a caer 20.
Pero lo que les quiero compartir un poquito es que hay como una especie de herramienta
Ok,
que te guía un poco para ver cuál sería el cálculo de los costos de no colaborar. Depende del caso específico. En el caso de Cancer Free Economy es, si no colaboramos, cuántas muertes hay, cuánto gasto por atender a todas esas personas que están teniendo cáncer o que están reincidiendo. O sea, hay un número que podemos estimar de
ok.
cuál es el costo de que no hagamos esto, ¿no? Y tengo una amiga economista que está fascinada con ese tipo de cálculos, yo no soy economista, pero cambia un poco la manera como de llegar a estas invitaciones que decía Alexia, ¿no? De esto es lo que estamos perdiendo si no entramos en una colaboración seria, ¿no? De esto.
Ah,
Eso es
eso
muy
está
interesante.
buenísimo.
Entonces,
Gracias.
bueno, ese es la siguiente, les comparto un poquito. Y
Mira,
Carlos,
yo me voy, ¿me escuchan? Ok.
sí,
Yo me voy me gustó muchísimo el enfoque de cómo abrir un espacio y un espacio de diálogo donde invitas y mi experiencia ha sido que o hay demasiada estructura o no hay estructura. Entonces, yo lo que sentí, y por otro lado, estos lugares donde tienes 40 o 50 gentes, me gustó mucho, en mi experiencia yo creo que sí unos 15 o 20 es el número manejable, que pueden ser muchos más detrás pero me gustó mucho cómo aplica todos los conceptos de teoría de redes a la parte humana y lo que más me gustó es su forma de invitar. Yo me quedo con la forma de invitar para crear un espacio de diálogo y no un espacio de confrontación. La actitud de colaboración, yo no sé, lo pondría como de abrir las manos. Me gustó mucho, gracias.
no, pues muchas gracias, Carlos. Y bueno, pues pues estamos llegando al final de nuestra clase virtual. Entonces voy a abrir ese foro y les puse por ahí como es que perdón que no puse yo como en las fechas de entrega para recordarles, como no hay calificación aquí, se me pasó. Pero les voy a poner ahí nada más, les pedí que tomaran como uno de las lecturas que puede ser las organizaciones que aprenden de Peter Senge, o puede ser la parte de reinventando organizaciones, o la parte de Kaordic, y que la lean y pongan un poco, creo que sí ya les puse ahí como 2 o 3 preguntitas a contestar, como sus reflexiones, ¿no? O sea, para que la siguiente vamos a echar así como una corrida de varios modelos que son como innovadores, y seguiremos en la conversación, ¿no? De qué significa eso. Entonces, pues muchas gracias por haber estado y nos vemos muy pronto en la siguiente clase.
Ay, Anabel, perdón, yo me
Ajá.
perdí, ya no vi. ¿Cuándo se entrega esta actividad?
Es antes digo, no tengo fecha.
Es el 27
no,
a
el
finales de
20,
agosto.
a finales de agosto. Ajá, sí, es como unos pocos días antes de su sesión
Y,
presencial.
Alexia, ¿tiene liga para entregar o hay que subirla al foro?
Al foro.
Ah, ok, perfecto.
Sí, con que la suban al foro.
Perfecto.
Sí, 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 sí. Ahí con que la suban al foro, a mí lo que me interesa, digo, aquí no hay calificaciones, pero lo que me interesa es que ustedes puedan ver las reflexiones de los otros también.
Ah,
Entonces,
perfecto.
si la suben en el que solo lo veo yo, pues entonces luego tengo que estarles mandando, qué sé yo. Entonces, si lo suben directo al foro,
Ajá.
ustedes pueden ver la reflexión de los otros.
Muy bien. Gracias.
Bueno, pues, hola. Bueno, pues muchas gracias y nos vemos pronto, y si tienen dudas o preguntas, ahí me escriben. Bueno, ok. Nos
Gracias,
vemos.
Annabel. Bye todos.
Gracias.
Hasta pronto.
Adiós.